Hello everybody, welcome to the Man Alone Solo Role-Playing YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about some scary stuff, and actually not just scary stuff in the fictional world, but boy, I don't know if you've all been following some of the videos lately about tabletop role-playing game YouTube channels dropping like flies. Some very excellent channels that just are not feeling the love from the algorithm. And as a solo channel, I felt pretty insulated by that. It's on a smaller scale. A lot of these channels were 200,000-300,000 followers, and I said, hey, that's almost a totally different ecosystem than the solo channels. My job here is safe. I've got nothing to worry about. But when I heard that there was a new solo role-playing channel on the scene, and I shouldn't even talk about it because I don't want to give it free press, but I'm sure you already know that with this new one coming out, I just don't know how I'm going to compete, because this gentleman who is running this channel, he's actually quite accomplished in the field of fine dining. So we'll keep tabs on that, and boy, it's like, the world's changing. You can't trust anything anymore. Not like the good old days. I mean, some people, when you say stuff like that, the good old day, hey, things used to be better back when I was a kid. Lasagna had an extra layer. Oh man, back in my day, lasagna had, full corn cobs in it. You used to be able to. My mother, she used to make lasagna that had gold chains in it. Nowadays you're lucky if you get, a Tiffany bracelet out of there. You hear this kind of stuff all the time, and sometimes there's some truth to it, and sometimes it's like a little bit of an exaggeration, but I do know that one thing definitely used to be better in the old days, and that was children's like cartoon movie, like Disney movies. Because I don't know if you know this, but because nowadays Disney movies are pretty much just the same movie over and over again, just a different subliminal social programming message. But back in the day, boy, they went hard in the paint, and they used to be scary. And I'm not saying scary for a kid's movie. I'm saying terrifying. And one of them sticks out above all the rest. And that would be the legend of the Headless Horseman. I saw this Disney movie when I was three years old. And I don't know if I was wearing, briefs yet, or if I had some problems transitioning, from the disposable. Anyways, my point is, there was a scene in this that when it came on, I crapped my pants so hard and so fast, and with so much upward propulsion, that it from the outside, it looked like I was had started levitating. Like, that's how much I filled up my maybe they were like those half diapers, like, oh, are you a big kid now? Here's some things that are almost underwear, but you can still, crap in them. Anyways, the scene in question. First of all, let me just tell you a little bit about this movie, and this is gonna some of this stuff I just can't believe. So first of all, this movie, this Disney movie, was like a two-part movie, and the first part was The Wind in the Willows, and so just if anyone knows what that is, it's about I don't know, a frog and a skunk. They were drug addicts. I don't know, but it's a very nice, serene little. Oh, I'm coming to have tea, and oh, I like sugar in my right. And so it's this lovely little thing. And then the second part was this 20-minute sleepy the Legend of Sleepy Hollow or something like that. It was named. And I saw this when I was 3. It came out in like the 40s, and then I think towards the end of the 1950s it was re-released, and my aunt had it on VHS or whatever, and the build up of anticipation in this, and the sort of way that they induct the viewer into a wasteland of your deepest fears. It's borderline cruel. I mean, there's a whole scene, and I wish I could show you this, but of course it would not be wise for me to show a Disney movie on my YouTube channel. I'm sure that I probably wouldn't even get to the point where I post the video. You'd probably see a SWAT team just like pull me out mid video, but it's a shame, I wish there was a way for you to watch it. I wish there was, like, I wish I could say, type in Sleepy Hollow on the Daily Motion website search bar, but I can't, I don't know. I don't know if there's like the entire movie broken up into 4 parts on some Daily Motion website or something, but you just have to hear my descriptions of it. And I know some of you must have seen this, because if you saw this like me, this was burned into your mind, because the actual moment that the Headless Horseman appears, it is horrifying. It's horrifying. They pull no punches. A crash of lightning behind him. He's huge. He's got, instead of a head, hey, it's for kids. He can't just have no head. We'll put a flaming demonic jack-o'-lantern, and that he throws at Ichabod Crane, who is this sort of gangly humanoid version of Goofy in this. So came out 40s, reissued the 50s. It was the second part of this thing with, you got Mr. Toad, mainlining, Earl Grey in the first one. And then the second one, you have, you got your defenses down. You're like, oh, one nice story. Here's another one about a schoolmaster, and they're worried about some German guy. And then that scene hits you, and I unloaded all six hot dogs that I had eaten earlier that day. But I was also had no idea until I did my research for this video, and I do my research. The movie was narrated by Bing Crosby, and so throughout the movie, it's going. Now Ichabod didn't know it at the time, but there was a German man hot on his trail. And just think about that. Just think about doing any sort of thing with Dean Martin. They must have had to or I'm sorry, Dean Martin. Bing Crosby. They must have had to do 65 cigarette breaks. The other thing that the last thing I'll say just about this, because we're talking about the game here, is that this is the only Disney movie where the bad guy wins. Like, he he takes out Ichabod. He's gone. Like at the end of the film, they find his hat and he's gone. They put some sort of oh, maybe he ran away and found. No, man, he's gone. He's either up on the Headless Horseman's wall, or it's kind of like the Santa Claus with Tim Allen, except decapitation. Like he's now the Headless Horseman. I don't know, but I just that and another one called I'm not sure if this one was Disney, but it was another animated movie called The Black Cauldron, and I was just evacuated. 6 lunches the moment I saw these movies, and that compared to now, when like these Disney movies are just basically The Rock singing or whatever, no thanks. I would rather have a movie that it was so good that I think I've brought it up in therapy throughout the years about 10 times. So it was so good that it literally scarred me. Okay, so today we're going to talk about Sleepy Hollow by Kids in the Attic, a game by Rick Hershey. And it is based on the Year Zero engine by Free League. Year Zero has an SRD that can be adapted into a game. The book is a cute little half book. It's kind of like when you're not quite an adult and you want to buy an adult type present at a birthday party. You're like 20 and you're like, oh, I'll buy one of these books at the Borders or Barnes and Noble's checkout. That's like yoga with cats for $8 or whatever. It's the yoga cat size book. It has a solo document that is called The Devil's 9 Questions that I'm going to have to, let me get that up on the screen. There we go. This is, both are available on drive-through, pretty affordable, and the solo game here is currently only PDF, but sounds like they're going to do a print-on-demand thing at some point. And, I think I'm feeling pretty excited about this when I saw it, simply because I think as much as certain top minds in the field feel about the Year Zero engine, I do understand some of the criticisms. I agree with them to a certain extent as well, that it becomes the way it scales can be a little too much, too fast. Dice pools I get all that, but I do think it's a system that needs more play, and it's a system that I often think is just so good for bringing somebody into tabletop play that is fearful of dice. People that are like, there's no way I want to be, I'm not going to know what to do. I'm not, and no matter how much you explain it, I can't understand it. Year Zero engine is great to be like, okay, what's your stat here? Okay, what weapon do you have? What's your skill? Okay, add those numbers. That's how many dice you roll. I mean, it's very inviting. And I think it does have some flexibility and some possibility. I think that we need to explore it more. So I was happy to see this. And we will take a look at the core book as well as the solo supplement. And I've looked through it. I've read all of the solo supplement and most of the core book. I have some thoughts about it, some half-baked thoughts. But before we do that, just because I have having this channel, I now feel guilty whenever I open something without all of you. So I have a bit of an accumulation of products that I have in the hopper here. So I'm just going to take 5 minutes or so to check out some of these items, some of which are solo or solo relevant or solo adjacent. So if you want to skip through that, just coast through the video until the thumbnails become this again. I'll put this aside for now. And the first thing, probably because it's the longest, is the Fate core system. And I think I need a little bit of an introduction or a preamble about this. Let me get my little pen opener. All right, so again, not going to spend too much time with these. We're definitely not going to page through the entirety of the Fate core system because it is a significant book here. But I do want, there is someone in particular, I'm not going to put you on blast. Well, there's nothing to put you on blast about, but one of my loyal commenters has, I think I can call it a campaign, mounted a campaign for a long time, maybe a year, saying every time I'd post something or make a video saying, oh, I wish the system did this, or I wish there was something that had this, and they just say, yep, that's Fate. You should use Fate. You should check out Fate. But Fate has a bit of a weird background with me in that when I started looking, one second. When I started looking outside of the bounds of 5e, I picked up Fate and read through it, and I was just like, huh. And I'll actually say I actually returned it, and I don't usually return anything, but I went back the next day because I wanted to get something else, and I was just like, I'm not going to use this. I don't think that this looks like a system for me. What I realized later was that I didn't even have Fate. I had Fate condensed. So this was Fate core system. I had Fate condensed, which is smaller than this book. And weirdly, this is how stupid I am. I made the same mistake with the Mythic GM emulator. For a long time, all I had, and the Mythic GM emulator has to be 200 plus pages, but for a long time, I had this, which is like the core adventure generator, which is actually really good, but I'd seen people use Mythic GME so expansively that I was so confused as to like, wow, this is it. And obviously it wasn't, and I do have the full GME now. And even though it's not my system of choice right now, I go through seasons. Perhaps it could be at some point. And to demonstrate my commitment, because I did after a while tell you, and you know who you are, that I was going to check it out in 2025. I did buy some, looks like they're called Vampire Dice, 12 premium Fate, and 12 premium dice to stalk the night in shadows red and purple. Huh. I don't know why is it called these just look like the core dice. Is it called that? Okay. Anyways, so that's some Fate and Fudge dice, and they are, they look like they're all, plus, minus, or blank are the options on the D6s. The inside is pretty nice. I certainly, this is going to be a bedtime read for a while here. I'm seeing some familiar things based on what I know about Fate, which is stunts, making a good aspect, drilling down. There's a few games that are based on Fate, right? Evil Hat games are based on this. So yeah, I'll learn about it, see what it's got. Curious. Yeah, you just don't see a lot of Fate system, I think, in unless I'm, it's possible that I'm missing a whole part of YouTube that people using Fate for solo play. But I'm curious about that, and I will learn more about that now. As I promised, 2025 was the year of Fate. This came from some gift card that BB got me for Waterstones. It's like the Barnes and Noble of the UK. And so I was like, okay, well, we'll see what they got that I don't have. And this was, along with the next one here that I'll pull up, I am slowly becoming more and more skirmish curious, in that I want to find a skirmish game, a miniature game that I can play right here. And unfortunately, it looks like this, and I do understand that, like, you can make a skirmish game any size. You can make a skirmish game the size, you could play it on the A right here. You just have to use division. But it's my understanding that if you go smaller than 2 feet by 2 feet, one thing that becomes a bit difficult is like tracing the path of things, because you won't be able to tell like whether somebody has cover or whatnot. But I'm thinking for solo play, that is not as important, right? And so I am, this is kind of a longer term project here, is just thinking about a skirmish game that could fit. I could go 2 feet this way. I could probably go 20 inches this way if I clear out a bunch of this stuff, although part of this is my computer base, so I doubt I'll be able to get rid of that. But this is by John Lamshed, and this is, there's 1 hour skirmish war games. He's got a couple of these 1 hour ones, and the promise here is that this book was made kind of like a challenge from someone that's like, hey, could you explain to somebody how to play skirmish miniature games in an easy way in an hour? So that's where this comes from. And to that end, I also got recently available on drive-through is another one that's a smaller scale. I think this one can be played 2 by 2. The other thing about going like not using the dimensions that are recommended, and again, this is just a quality of life thing, is when a book is based on certain dimensions and then you change those dimensions, and especially when it is not a proportional change, like going from 4 to 4, 4 by 4 feet to like 2 by 2 feet, probably not so bad. But going from like 3 feet, 3 by 3 to 2 by 3, or especially what I would have to do, which is like 2 by 2 to 2 by 1.75 feet. That might be a little difficult, but this is another one that has solo options in it and lots of different scenarios and stuff. I'm just trying to look outside of 40K. I mean, I'll never stop loving the lore of 40K, and there might be in the future a 40K channel that is going to be maybe separate from this one by man alone. We'll see, but I just kind of want to, in terms of play, I want to move outside of that. And I really have with Rangers of Shadow Deep, which I have, I've just become more interested in seeing how I can incorporate a little bit more of that in a way that's interesting to me, who is a person who is more interested in like tabletop role playing than skirmish, seeing how I could bring those together. We'll do the GM screen last, but I also got the Prosopedia, the Cults of RuneQuest supplement, which the reason I got this is the overview of the deities from RuneQuest. And if you've seen any of my RuneQuest videos, I'm very interested in using the actual runes to develop oracles to adapt RuneQuest into solo play. And I did pick up the RuneQuest dice. Actually, I think I picked these up before I even got RuneQuest, just because the set of 3 that came in there's 2 levels of dice packages for RuneQuest, as you have like the supplement dice, and this is what I got, and it's a little bit hard to see on here, but this die specifically is a hit location dice, and I was like, oh man, I could just use that over and over again, and I really got it because of that. It was not too expensive. And then I was like looking at the rune dice, and I was like, wow, all of these are like different symbols. And that's when I got RuneQuest, I was like, oh my gosh, these symbols have like a pretty rich meaning to them. And so I filled out my collection by getting pretty much the like polyhedral set, the standard, D10, D12, D8. And I was like, yeah, so now I have everything. But I kept looking at these, and I was like, am I tripping, or are these the most beautiful dice I've ever seen in my life? Additionally, every one of these has the runes, like some of the runes on the dice. And so I was like, yeah, there's no reason for me to like rebuy these just to get them in a set. And I did. So as you can see, I think also this color, which is like apparently the original RuneQuest color. By the way, these are by Q Workshop, and I just really recommend that you go on the Q Workshop website to read their descriptions of dice. I laugh so hard, and it's I didn't. It's not me laughing at them and like making fun of them. I gotta bring it up really quick. I'm sorry. All right, just really, really quick here. So they actually have quite a few IPs that they make dice for. Again, it's called Q Workshop, and their slogan is "All dice tell a story." And they have dice sets for they have Pathfinder, Call of Cthulhu. What was the other? Cyberpunk, The Witcher. So I was just looking at this because I wanted to see the other options, and these are the only colors, which I think they all have special. They're all special in different ways, but the beige and burgundy, I clicked on this and I was like, I remember opening this and thinking, it's got to be tough to write a product description for dice, because you're basically, it's like product description, dice, features, numbers, right? But no, not for Q Workshop. They, because I saw this and I was like, yeah, this is about it right here. Like, the world of Glorantha and RuneQuest has 40 years of history. It's the second role-playing game ever. Okay. These dice are our tribute to this game. And I was like, yeah, that's probably as good as you can get. Nope. RuneQuest, beige, and burgundy. You have found the dice explicitly made for the most acclaimed fantasy setting in the history of RPGs. The newest edition of the legendary game from the Chaosium has come. The world of Glorantha and RuneQuest has 40 years of history. Again, it was the second role-playing game ever. RuneQuest, they're full of magic with great stories. It is a great honor to design dice for one of the fundamental games in the history of our hobby. These dice are our tribute. The set we proudly present is made from the best material, full of complex engravings that look like Minoan patterns and signed with plenty of runes. They represent many powers, and we hope they will give your character access to the magic of the mythic world and a chance to become one of Rune Masters. Fantasy Bronze Age is waiting. That's not it though, right? Runes are building blocks of Glorantha because life is defined fundamentally by runes. These sigils represent the elemental cosmic forces that undergird the universe and empower the gods. Real rune masters could be heralds of runes and gods, fight in their name, and die with the runes in their hearts. The beige and burgundy set is the obvious choice of color scheme because these are the colors of the legendary first edition cover. But these dice are not only an heirloom, but a handy tool that is universal for all games and made meticulously. Yes, we support Myth, but today, Rune Masters is just as important as gamers from every generation of fans. And they make these, Q Workshop is from Poland. And as good as that is, and I'm almost done. It gets a little bit better here. I was like, wow, that was stunning. And then I was like, bro, they wrote descriptions for every set of these dice. The red and gold is the obvious choice of color scheme because these are the colors of the Glorantha Bestiary book cover. This is our tribute to the next great book, the ultimate rule book about slaying fantastic beasts. With these blood red dice, you could hunt all you want. No, there can't be one for... Can there be? Yes. The turquoise dice with gold ornaments are both for the freshmen that just started their journey on the path of the runes and rune masters alike. This scheme is similar to the layout of the newest edition of RuneQuest and symbolizes a fresh start, a new way of daring adventures for veterans and beginners. Turquoise is the stone of warrior, full of energy and hope. The gold is metal for victors. Both combined are the best talisman for brave adventures. I'm not going to keep torturing you, but they also have different description components for like the main dice and the accessory dice. And I mean this from the bottom of my ash black heart. I will love Q Workshop forever. There are many great dice brands. I will say that. I am a card boy, but I'm also a dice guy. And so big ups for that. And I'm excited. All of this, this meander was to say that because these runes have very much inspired me in terms of creating a rune-based oracle. The reason why I got this one is because these runes are not, and here's like the lineup of most of them. One of the amazing things about RuneQuest is anything you think is like incidental or decorative, anything that if I was making a game, I'd go, yeah, throw some runes up top there. That's cool. You know, nothing is, ow, sorry, my arm. Nothing is accidental. And so everything in here is purposeful, and the different gods all have different combinations of these runes that when you look up each of the runes and what they represent, the combination of these runes is distinct for each of these gods and combined means different things. And so I was like, bro, these are literally like, these are signs, sigils, like they are full of meaning. And so I definitely got my work cut out for me. You know, there are short, medium, and long-term projects, and this is definitely a longer-term project. Okay, and the last here is the One Ring GM screen. We'll take a little look at here. And which one of you was it that said, don't really think you needed that? Well, why not? Why can't a fella have a GM screen? You know? All right, let me pause it so that I can open this without humiliating myself. Let me just say, in all seriousness, I'm not just being like a stupid head. GM screens, when they're done right, could be a solo player's best friend. But the One Ring GM screen that has... Oh, man. Did I get ripped from... Oh, okay. I hope I didn't. For a second, I got a little bit of a blemish here. That does not look great. I don't know if that's coming through right there, but yeah, a little bit. For this one specifically, I wanted this screen because in addition to the screen, this GM screen is a package that comes with Rivendell supplement here, which is a full adventure and location, I should say, location. And so I was like, $200 for just all this. No, I don't. It was $30 or something, but yeah, it's got some NPCs here and stuff. So I said, sure, let's go for it. But of course, now comes the moment of truth. You know the experience of buying a GM screen since you don't get to look at it. And again, I understand that it is not, even though I don't agree with it, you really should. They don't want you to show GM screens when a game first comes out. But every time I show a GM screen, I look and see if the game is old enough that it's pretty out there on the internet, what's on there. And this one definitely, the contents are very easily discoverable. And I will put in my little ideological plug that I think that game companies should be very straightforward and transparent about what is on a GM screen, because it's not very fair. Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of paragraphs, and paragraphs make me nervous on a GM screen, because one thing, and it is Free League specifically, is that the central idea of a GM screen is a rapid reference guide for granular information that needs to be accessed often to save me from having to go into the book. So we have a special success table. Okay, that seems like a good thing. Conditions, that's good. It also has page number references, advantages and complications, adversary special damage options. I can't speak to that because I'm not fully familiar with the Free League from the One Ring system yet, that I heard someone say is a board game adapted into a role-playing game. Though I don't know the whole system, I feel like I disagree with that. Council structure. Oh, right, because there's like this council thing where it's like combat mechanics, but for making an argument. When to roll, endurance, resting, first aid, journey rolls, marching, perilous areas, sources of dread. So, yeah, this looks pretty good. Journey events table. That'll be very good for solo play. Journey rolls. This would actually be really good here for Forbidden Lands, like guide, hunter, lookout, scout, because and I assume like once I get the hang of Forbidden Lands, it'll be a little easier. But I'm having a hard time remembering all those roles, considering ROLES, considering they're pretty much all occupied by me and a goat or whatever my companion is. Okay, so now that we're 40 minutes in, let's start the purpose of the video. And to whoever the person is that constantly says, took so long to get into the video, I want to say sorry, and I just want to ask, as I always do for people who write this comment, are you okay? Did you cry? And did your mommy help you clean up the poo-poo you made in your pants because you were so mad? I hope you get I hope you get the bottle before you go to bed, and you get some good soft food. Okay, let's talk Sleepy Hollow. Okay, so Sleepy Hollow, which would be an interesting restaurant, right? Come on down to Sleepy Hollow. Try our new pumpkin pie nachos. Okay, sorry. So first of all, an interesting choice. I think it's a good choice. The right choice is that this game takes place 20 years after the whole Ichabod Crane thing. and they are trying to move on with their lives, right? And the people there are still quite fearful and very superstitious, and I guess it sounds like a move to reclaim a feeling of safety in their town, or also to harken back to the old stories and move on. They have a festival of the Horseman, which that's an interesting choice, right? That would be like, I don't even really want to. I guess it would be like the Amityville days at the local county fair or something like that. But nice intro here, and what is very much set up is that Sleepy Hollow is a place where the veil between here and, the other side is quite thin. Okay, yeah. Autumn of 1810 sees Sleepy Hollow draped in the vibrant hues of fall foliage. The air is crisp and the harvest is bountiful, setting the stage for the town's annual Festival of the Horseman. This festival, initially a solemn commemoration of Ichabod Crane's mysterious disappearance, has evolved into a grand celebration, has some festivities with parades, fairs, and reenactments. Everyone's having a great time. I bet that week in town, whenever anyone gets stressed, someone goes, "Hey, don't lose your head." The Festival of the Horsemen, ostensibly a time of joy, serves as a poignant reminder of Sleepy Hollow's haunted past. Okay. In this climate of uncertainty and fear, the stage is set for new heroes to emerge. All right, so yeah, let me just state plainly, like, my initial thoughts even before I got this. I really like Sleepy Hollow. I even like the movie with Christina Ricci, Johnny Depp, Sleepy, I think 99 it came out. And the Headless Horseman is what an amazing choice. It's Christopher Walken. So it's like, I came here and I was on a horse. I lost my head and I can't find it. But my question, or my hesitation, my curiosity was, what do you do with that? Like this story, it's Washington Irving. It's part of the, it's like a foundational mythological fable from America. And it is really cool, interesting time. I like that it takes place in a time that is not usually a source of gaming lore. It's like, what's the game by Perplexing Ruins? Fallen? That uses the sort of musketeer time period, or like Victorian England. I like anything that uses a place and setting that is not like the typical sword and sorcery or cyberpunk stuff. So I like that, but I'm very curious, what do you do from there? And so I like the choice to move it 20 years ahead. I'm interested in how the archetypes are used, as well as how expansive and generative this setting can be. Because one of the problems of placing something outside of the times you expect, right, there's lots of opportunity in that where you can generate some new and novel stories, but sometimes the reason why something is not located in a certain time is because people don't have a general sense. I could say not a lot happened then, but of course, like a historian would tell me that everything has always happened all the time. But I think that when there's not that great of an awareness of that time period, maybe people don't know how people talked. They don't know major events that were influencing culture at the time. They might have a hard time recreating that. And so what I was looking for right up front was some pretty good world building, I think would be it. So we have a little introduction so far, and let's see if they build out more what the world here looks like. Some of the key features were interesting to me. I think that a lot of them are key features of the Year Zero engine, which is fine. But what the contention that is made here is that Sleepy Hollow in and of itself, that is not my review of the game. And once again, I have no idea why my camera sometimes does that. Sleepy Hollow itself does not have, what am I supposed to do? My thumb is permanently like that. Sleepy Hollow does as far as I can see, what my thought is after reviewing this game is that most of these contentions are based on the Year Zero system. However, up here, what they list is that it is accessible, fast and decisive, risks and rewards, and player centric, which I would say all of those things are the Year Zero system. So even though I'm saying that I think most of that is a Year Zero, what is the way that the Year Zero is wielded in this game could determine, what is there any special way that they're implementing the Year Zero system? And just so that I specifically can locate this, which is one of my foundational premises of the videos. Okay, so here it is. So it says that Sleepy Hollow is powered by the Year Zero engine, slightly modified to capture the folk horror atmosphere of the setting. And then it does admit, even so, the 6 core features of the game remain in common with other tabletop role-playing games. So this is something that I did cling on to. It is modified to capture the folk horror atmosphere of the setting. That is very exciting to me. And the reason that is exciting is because one of the things I like about the Year Zero engine is actually the slight modifications within the form, because each of those modifications, I think, are often, not always, but often quite clever in the way that they are prisms by which the lore and background and characters and setting of the game are sort of refracted through that change in mechanic. And what I mean by that is, for example, in Mutant Year Zero, when you push a roll, you get a mutation point because your exertion, whether it leads to a good or a bad result, is putting stress that is going to provoke this, eventually this manifestation of your character's mutation powers. In Alien, you add stress dice, and these stress dice are added to your dice pool, and you get to roll more dice when you attempt an action, which is great. You have more chances for success, but that is also more chances for you to roll a 1, a failure. And if you roll a failure with a stress die, you have to roll on the panic table. And so what that reflects is how, if you were being chased by a xenomorph, you would be extremely stressed. And while on one hand, that would heighten your performance, right? You'd really be running for all you got, and your mind would be going a million miles an hour trying to figure out how to open the hatch and, blockade the door. At the same time, you are in an extremely dangerous situation, and your risk for making a mistake also goes up. And so there are others, and again, each of these, I think, is the fun and the flair of the adaptation of a Year Zero system. There's the assumption that it's for the most part, it's going to be very similar, right? Other than using a step dice mechanic, which is used in some of the games, there's not this thought that suddenly you're going to be rolling a pool of d20s or anything. Like this is, it's a sonnet. The basic structure remains the same, but the creativity you demonstrate within the bounds of that sonnet are what where the poetry is. Okay, so a lot of other things we see here are very reminiscent of Year Zero games. We have rounds, stretches, and shifts of time. We're using D6s in various permutations: D6, 2D6, D66, D666. I was hoping for a comment on that, since this is sort of a devilish spirit in this game, but I didn't catch that. And D3s, which is just, sort of dividing that by 2. There are character archetypes. There are attributes of strength, agility, wits, empathy. The 7 steps of character creation. Nothing new here. You're going to get gear, personality traits, talents, skills. The attributes and skills are, for the most part, all of there is not any of them that are surprises. All of them are pretty familiar. And talents, I didn't look into each and every talent too deeply, but we'll see with that. And then you have these vices and virtues, which is very similar to Vazen, which has the dark secret, and you have that as well here as the dark secret. Your character has an agenda, which is more or less their motivation, starting gear, signature items, which are uniquely suited to the character, and the name of the items are for flavor, but they don't really do anything special. So like butcher's knives are knives. Handmade slingshot is a sling. Encumbrance, tiny items, mounts, and vehicles. I like thinking of vehicles like you can get an SUV and just smash over everybody. Experience systems. Supply rolls are a simplified step dice resource system where it kind of actually goes against the usual grain of Year Zero engine systems, which usually with those systems, you don't want to have a roll that violates one of the core premises of the Year Zero system, which is that you're looking for 6s and hoping 1s don't come up. Or in some games, 1s don't have any effects, or some parts of the roll. But in this one, you are actually, there's no benefit to getting 6s. The 6s mean nothing. But if you roll a 1, so you'll roll your supply rating. If your supply rating is 3 and one of your rolls is a 1, then that rating until replenished goes down to 3 dice, but the 6 doesn't mean anything. You can change personality traits, the archetypes. For the most part, I like the art here, and I think it does not conflict with the setting and is quite enriching. It's a little bit faded, but I think that might just, I can't say, first of all, I am colorblind. I can still see colors, but differently or not much. But I think there also may be different gradations of the paper or something like that. But the art sometimes pops from the page, but I wish it actually did more often. But sometimes it feels a little bit like background art when I would want it more up front. This is fun. The minstrel has like these different ways of constructing songs. It looks like a bard. You pick an agenda. There's backstories. And we have a little bit of world building going on. We have a Hessian, which is sort of like a gunfighter. The in the lore, the actual story, the mythology, the Horseman was a Hessian who was a German soldier that came over and got their head taken off by a cannonball. You have a reverend. School teacher actually looks like the Ichabod Crane character from the Disney movie. So like, I'm just saying, if the full Disney movie was on like Daily Motion, and you looked at that, you'd be able to see that this is pretty mapped onto the like the diamond sort of concept of his face of Aquiline, is that what it's called, of Ichabod Cranes, who was also a school teacher. And that also the barber surgeon looks maybe like a barber from a musical, or what he would look like with makeup off. This is probably my favorite here. And I love the idea of using this archetype and this character in cyberpunk red. And just thinking about everyone like putting on their neon, Kawasaki hover bike, suits. And then you just have Edna running and threatening liver pudding. Some nice German specialties here. And then, of course, you have the village youth, or as my cousin Vinny would say, the village Ute, which is, I guess just a teenager from the town. And that's it. And then they call this section apprenticeship, the 16 skills. Yeah, nothing here. Crafting, there is a crafting system. They do have, at some points, these are pretty direct lifts from the Year Zero SRD, like the Art of Failure. You'll see that in a lot of games, which is, that's what the SRD is there for. And here it looks like the push system is the stress dice. So no surprises in terms of how the dice pools are generated. Attribute plus skill plus gear plus or minus any modifiers. Multiple successes, you usually get to win more. Has some scaling here. Here's the panic table. If you're stress dice, when you accumulate, when you push a roll, you accumulate stress dice, and you roll those each time, so they have to be a separate color, and they could help you be successful. But if you are, and I think Alien goes the same way here, but if you roll any of your stress dice as ones, you have to roll on the panic table, and you'd roll a d6 plus your current stress score. So if you had a 7 stress, you'd roll 1d6, you get a 3, it would be a 10, right? So over time, more and more accumulation of stress, more panic. You can get some help, get animal handling. So a lot, it's like the 12 skills that you see most often in Free League Year Zero games, plus a few like animal handling, I think is in a few of them. I know it's in Dragonbane, which is not Year Zero, but it's Free League. The talents are pretty, it's the base loadout here: dodge, fighter, fencer, fast reflexes, flyweight. Some of these are, there's Edna again, quick draw, jab. So not as much flavor in these as I'd like, but a nice selection of them. There's a lot of them, actually. That's really nice. And then you have the general store. And as far as I can tell, the combat stuff is largely the same as well. This is a really nice page right here. But combat, you're going to do initiative. You use cards if you want to. You have different conditions. You have to roll on the critical injury table. And then in the back, we have the flavor, I think, that we're looking for comes in the scenario. You get a really nice map here. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but you get like locations and build outs. These are pretty repetitive art wise, but they give you what you need and some sketches. This game is relatively new, so I don't want to go through all of these because I don't, I want people to buy this game if you're interested and you like it. Again, it's on drive-through. You can do PDF or print on demand, but much of the same here. There's scenario hooks for all these different locations, and I'm just going to do a quick one here just to make sure I catch everything from the end of the video before we move on to the solo supplement at last. Okay, so there's the location and the hooks, and then after that is a bit of a travel rules, and there's stuff for setting up camp and hunting, and then the final piece is, it looks like also in that part there's some like encounters and maybe some bestiary entries. And then at the end is an introductory adventure that is set up with various encounters that are marked either mandatory or optional. So here is my review from reading. And I think that this was a really good distinction that I saw in another video, and I want to put this disclaimer when I can. From reading a book, you are only partly qualified to give feedback on the game. You can give feedback on reading the game, but sometimes there is just how a game comes together is completely different from how it looks when you read it. That said, I am quite familiar with the Year Zero system, and obviously if you watch my channel, a lot of Free League games. I have every Free League game other than Blade Runner and Alien, but that again, it's hard to say until you actually play it. I think that the setting is really quite compelling. It's refreshing to see a new setting. I think the art is really cool, and especially some pages have really impressive, immersive splashes. There is a coherent aesthetic tone throughout of sort of crispied brown pages, lots of log cabin type early 19th century setting that I think they do a great job of holding on to. I didn't see as much creepy stuff as I would like all over, where you kind of forget about it, and then you, especially in this section right here, but then you'll run into something that is like, oh yeah, this game is a total horror game. Like there's a picture early on that I'm like, I can't show this too long, I'll get demonetized from it, but maybe I shouldn't show it again. But so looking into all the different options and hooks and stuff, it looks like you can get into some legitimately stressful, thrilling scenarios that are filled with tension building and apprehension. And that's really what makes Sleepy Hollow, I think, unique in all the different permutations, is this rising fear and terror of the unknown. I think that's actually part of the central thematic, like meta-thematic, I forgot what they call that, the theme of the theme, I'll think of it, but is like the idea of somebody without a head, like the place where most of your senses are, and you, with all of your faculties, feel completely unable to use them in any way to protect yourself. And so I think it does a good job with that. I think it implements the Year Zero system very effectively. And again, we haven't looked at the solo game yet, and that's what I'm mostly interested, or the solo supplement. That's what I'm mostly interested in. But from the standpoint of the promises made about the Year Zero system and the implementation, as well as some just expectations I have, it did say that it was a slight modification. I did not notice any even slight modifications to the system. It looks like a pretty much a control C, control V of the year zero system. Perhaps the resource die is a little bit of a unique take, but the actual statement was that the modifications were there to heighten the fear and the apprehension. And I think what they were referring to, or the most likely culprit of what they were referring to, was the stress dice system. And that is not novel. In fact, some would say that that is the most well-known manifestation of the push your roll effects for the game. Does it work? Yeah, I think it actually does work, because in a way, I'm not going to say like the Headless Horseman is the xenomorph of 1910, but I think it's a lot of the same stuff, because in a lot of the Headless Horseman animations and stories, one of the essential parts of the story is that Ichabod Crane keeps seeing things that scare the hell out of him, only for him to realize, like, oh, that was just a coat rack. Oh, that was just tree branches. Oh, that was just a willow wisp or whatever that was making that sound. And then finally, that sensory betrayal of all of these things that keep making you scared, and then you want to laugh it off. Finally, all of those things turn out to be absolutely coming from a headless horseman who is massive and mounted on a horse. And I think to be fully serious for a second about the headless horseman mythology, I think that as a grown man who is capable of self-soothing myself in a good deal of stressful situations, I like to think of myself as someone who keeps cool, somebody who doesn't let things get to them. Even with that notwithstanding, I think that walking or riding a horse down a dark forest path at night during a thunderstorm, I think I might like lose my, I think I would like involuntarily shiver out of fear on that. That's like terrifying thought of that. And I think that as the microcosm of the sort of feeling you want to create with your players, the stress dice system is really cool. And it is very similar to sort of traveling down a spaceship shaft in Alien, or crawling along. So I think it's the right choice there. But it does not, as far as I can tell, there's nothing novel here or anything, which is okay. It's okay. And they only set a slight modifier. When you break it down, the unique lore and setting and all that, that is a slightly modified, right? But there's no big surprise as far as the mechanics, which was a little bit of a letdown for me. And I would say that there also seems to be a lot more lore toward the end, when there is the review of the locations and the adventure. And I really hope that when I do play this, that that turns out to be confirmed, because I think that is what is going to be a big attractor for the game, is the build out of the world building and feeling immersed in that, and feeling that rising fear. So other than that, I think that's it. Oh, I also think there was a bit of a missed opportunity with the talents. That's another way that this could have easily been made into a more of, a proper game, a proper distinct game. Talents, one of the things about the year zero system is it's hard to come by stuff. It's not like I was playing Baldur's Gate 3 the other day. I occasionally download it and play it for 7 minutes until I decide it's not worth taking up 60 gigabytes of my Xbox. But, within an hour, I must have had 70 weapons and items and armor and stuff. And so that's not the usual thing in Year Zero games, right? You get a talent, you get some skills, which everybody has, you get some basic weapon and gear, and so when you get something new, that's really special. When I get a new talent, or a new weapon, I'm going to be really excited about that. And so I just think that if my talent is jab or steady hands or whatever, I just think quick draw. I just think it feels like a little bit of a letdown. That it could have been pushed no pun intended, a little bit more to give that experience that is heightened. That doesn't feel like a sort of copy paste. Could be my own taste. Okay, so the Sleepy Hollow solo supplement is by Alan Barr. And what is, if you don't know that name, Alan is the co-writer for Under Ashen Skies, which is an Alex T game that is really unique. Alan was a co-writer there. I believe helped finish it. And I think it's one of the more unique solo games that BB and I are playing together. And at some point we'll do an episode on that. But Alan wrote the Devil's 9 Questions, the solo supplement, which is a generous 64 pages. Not all of those are text, but even so, that is a really impressive page count for a solo supplement. Size doesn't always matter. Whether your supplement is 64 pages or 52 pages or 9 pages or 3 inches, like whatever it is, it can be really good if it has the right stuff in it. And so I think that the way that let me just say this, I was very pleasantly surprised by this. Okay, let's start that way. And not because I didn't expect Alan Barr to put out something good. It's that when you evaluate a lot of solo supplements like I do, you see like sometimes it's just sort of tacked on, like, oh, if you wanted to, you could solo play it, and here's a D.25 Oracle table or something. But this actually looks pretty good. The art, it looks like they collaborated, or at least had a Rick Hershey who did the artwork. Rick Hershey, it says a game by Rick Hershey on the core game here. And for the most part, the art in this is on point. I can't say for sure whether it is its own unique art. I think some of it is, because I don't remember seeing it, but I can't say that for sure. And for having its own art, I think that for a solo supplement, pretty darn good. There is one exception to that I think I'm being. I don't think this is actually anything wrong with this. It's just like it is so out of character when I first saw it compared to the other ones. And so really quick, let me just kind of scroll backwards towards it. Oh no, actually I have it like redacted, and then I'll pull that away. So if you look at some of the, like this right here, this looks awesome. This is like something that's in that soft pencil Vezin. Thank you for the 9 recommendations on how to say that. And then you have some like pencil sketch stuff, and then you have some really cool stuff here. And I do think some of it's stock art, but I think that's more like this. I just think a lot of this stuff looks really good. And then there's 2 pictures, and I don't know if I'm not seeing the other one here, but there's 2 that look really distinct and cool. Yeah, I guess it was this one. Oh, and this one. So there's another page that has like the same type of art as this one, and it is this page. And for whatever reason, when I saw this picture, I thought it was a photo, and I just laughed because it, like, at first glance, this just looked like somebody applied a filter to like an Alan Jackson album cover. I actually think it is like a pencil sketch, but I don't know. What are your thoughts? Write into PO Box Man Alone 5. I thought that was pretty fun. And I think the other cool thing about this supplement is these interludes here, which give the game a little bit of flavor because not that it's always necessary, but sometimes solo supplements can also feel very utilitarian. You know, like, oh, this is not the main game, so we don't have to like add art here or anything like that. Okay, so the basic conceit here, as far as I can tell, is well, I guess like it's just a you just the core game is the basis of how you play this. I know that that sounds fairly obvious, but what I'm saying is, even though they have some interesting thoughts on these pages, and even though they have some like letters that sort of or some songs and stuff like that that heighten the immersion of it. The One of the things that I was expecting was this, you know, the Devil's Nine Questions, and that is actually here as a song by Texas Gladden. And when I first saw this, I was like, oh man, is this an oracle that's like the actual lines of a song? Because I actually think that this would make a good oracle. There is almost every line has something sort of, or at least every stanza has something that would be like really good oracle entries. But it's sort of a devil went down to Georgia thing where it's like you encounter the devil, and there are some questions, a large table of questions that can be used to as inputs in different scenarios, right? You are here in Sleepy Hollow, and either the devil or someone acting, you know, an intermediary or a manifestation of it, asks these questions. Before we get to that, there is a nice section here that I think does a really good job of actually explaining solo play. You know, usually when I see these, I'm like, oh, come on, get to the good stuff. We already know, you know. But this actually is a really good explanation of it. And to me, I had a lot of faith in this because I was like, from reading this is somebody who actually understands solo play. Sometimes you'll see these sort of things like, what is solo play? And the way they explain it is like, I don't know. I don't think you're a solo player. Like, you know, it'll say like solo play is playing RPG when no one's home, you know, or whatever. And this one actually had some descriptions in it that I thought were really, really good analogies, especially second paragraph. You will set the scene, use dice to take control away from yourself. I really like how that's stated. Right. Because I'm always trying to explain it a different way. I'm always saying you'll use oracles to like substitute via mathematical abstraction the randomization of the game master's input. And for certain people, that is a really nice explanation, I'm sure. My mom likes it. And for others, it's like, what? Like, and it's not even like they're not smart enough to understand it. It's just that I sound like, if I said that to my dad, he'd be like, why are you talking like that? Just tell me what's going on, right? And I think this does a much better job because this is fundamentally what it is. It's Jesus or Alan Barr take the wheel, right? I can't control part of the game, and that's what makes it a solo game and not just like a story. Is that there's this passing of the baton. So I definitely like this. I think we could have done, considering that there is a heavy reliance on the core book, I think there's some repetition here, but also there needed to be the column on the right here to explain oracles, and then the optional journaling option, the optional option, which I have to say I do not like seeing the option next to it. Like, stand in your truth. Man Alone is not a strong pro journaling solo channel. I think it rarely achieves for me what I want it to achieve. And also when it is optional, I would say that the national average, the international average for how many people take that option is in the single digits. So my question is, do you think that journaling is required to play your solo supplement? If yes, just say this is how you journal. Don't say optional. Just say this is how you journal. And if it's not, if it might be helpful, might not, then don't even say anything. And if people want to do it, they'll do it. And this is a couple of notes from the writer. A lot of this stuff, for those who are not new to this, probably a lot of things you already knew, but again, I like it. Some good thoughts from Alan that I think are actually good, like helpful. And then some tips on setting atmosphere. Some of these things I'm like, I would never light a candle, or I'm just not that kind of person. I light candles. I'm not, I am not the kind of person who lights candles for like, to put myself in an atmosphere or something. I don't, like, there's some people who just sit and stare at a Christmas tree and they're like, oh, I love just looking at, and I'm not not a person whose mood is augmented by, luminescence, nor sense. But I do think that having, special dice that mean something to you, they don't have to be heirloom, but dice that you like and that you're excited to play with, maybe, some dice that I will be, you could do the Q workshop, but also I am very excited. I won't say any more yet, but I have some, a dice sponsor that's going to come, and I'll share some of that dice as well. They look really cool. And then other sundry tools, which I thought was Sunday. So, okay. So again, I don't want to share all of this. This is relatively new, but I think this right here is very helpful. It breaks down solo play. I think that incident, obstacles, action, denouement, and then the shift, this is good for any solo game. And he further explains that like the fifth step of the scene shift is not really a step. It's sort of like a knitting of the scene back on itself. So like the shift of a scene that occurs after a denouement is also the inciting incident for the next scene. That, in most general, practical, rhetorical terms, is how the gameplay loop usually goes in any game. I had a comment recently, and I'm sorry I haven't been able to respond to comments like I usually do. It's just very hard for me to type. But it said, you talk about gameplay loops a lot. Could you do a video on that? And I think I can, and I think I will. I think that's a good video. But this is a good place to start right here. And it is so general, in fact, that I wish it were a little more, let's say, customized or personalized to Sleepy Hollow. The Devil's Bargains table is excellent, and it says every decision has a cost. There's another little flavor page. There's a discussion of a yes/no oracle. That's a D6 adaptation. You might also consider the Year Zero Plus One, which is a Man Alone supplement available on drive-thru for a solo-based Year Zero oracle, but this one works as well. And there's also then several oracles to do things like NPCs and a variety of different, bring one up. So an action and theme table on the left here, which is really substantial and can be your main oracle that you use to input. Social reaction table, really nice on the right. On the next page, there's combat actions. There is these scenario prompts, and there is lots of really good tables of cryptic clues, NPC generator, random question, twists of fate, lost items and finds, all this good stuff. There are 3 more after this, and so then when I got on page 35 and it has sort of a template for a scenario, I was like, let's do it. I'm ready. Let's get into this. And and I was like, okay, I'm ready to start. And then I was like, that's it. So there's lots of several copies of notes pages and NPC stuff, but that I'm going to say unfortunately is the last about 2064. That's actually the last 30 pages of it. And I think that is more slightly useful if I have a printed copy of the book, although I must say that I rarely, if ever, write in the, like, I would never fill out the actual character sheet in a book unless it was like a tearaway thing that was supposed to be that way. But yeah, so let me do a quick review of 90% of this, and then I will do my last 10% review to talk about the end of this. So as far as solo supplements, this is an excellent solo supplement. It has some of the best tables that I have seen. And for me, when I say the best tables, I don't just mean it has a lot of them or that they say a lot of words. I mean that there is a skill, there's an art to writing good tables. And one of those things is that the cues or inputs are specific enough to be definitive, right? Like they don't say like something changed, right? Because that's not enough. Or hey, this room is weird. It's not enough. So you can't have them like that. But if they're too over specific, then you're playing for the player. And also, over specific tables run out of steam really fast. Like, when you roll up something and it's like a big bowl of cheesy macaroni just fell onto your lap, you might run into that again in the same session of play. And that's going to feel like it's getting stale pretty quick. Whereas if they are more open-ended, for example, this twist of fate table, an object you lost long ago reappears in your path, or a mysterious illness afflicts someone close to you. These are real masterful prompts, and it just shows that Alan Barr took the job seriously and created, as far as tools go, created an excellent solo supplement and a set of tools that it just is really nice to see that level of effort and that level of NPC generation and NPC reactions and different options that make me feel like, wow, this will actually feel like this solo supplement is meaningful. And I have to do a little bit of a confession of something that I've been, I don't want to say I'm bitter about it, but I feel like it's something that I want to say, and it's about solo supplements, and I don't want to seem bitter or resentful. And I especially think it's kind of a bad look as somebody who has these available, like the Dragonbane solo supplement is out there. And so I don't want to say like, oh, only the way I did it is right, because that's absolutely not what I mean. And so I'll do it now at 1.5 hours into a video, because I think most of the people that are still here have enough of a parasocial relationship with me to withstand it. But I really do feel like there's a lot of ripoffs in the solo supplement market. And I think that very few of them are, I do not think that most of them, I do not think are intentional ripoffs. I think there are very few people who are like, oh, I have a great business plan, I'll just like sell a solo supplement to this. But some solo supplements that I have come across are ripoffs, and it makes me upset, because they're the thing that makes me feel that way is when I go through it from top to bottom, and sometimes all it takes is the fact that some of these are 4 pages and cost $6. But furthermore, when a solo supplement in no way is customized to the game, and in no way like is stitched into the core game, or reflects an understanding or an extension of the core game, or providing a new opportunity or a special sort of experience for the solo player, I get pretty upset. And I'm sort of blown away sometimes when I see some solo channels that do playthroughs and stuff and use solo supplements that I sit and I go, they have to know that that supplement is no good. Like, they have to know it. It's 3 pages. It has a yes/no oracle. It has a theme D66 that is just so remedial. It has a bunch of like you coulds and you mights and if you want sort of things. And so I understand that I'm totally biased, because look, like, we have to be honest with ourselves. Most people don't care about this, right? Like, it's nothing. And also it's not something that that I feel is like a civil rights issue. I'm not sitting here being like, we are the most unappreciated, under-resourced. Like, I get it. Not everyone's into this kind of thing, and not everybody is going to be into it. And most people are not even going to understand it, right? But it's just sometimes when people know better and they say that there's solo rules for something, and it's like, come on, everyone, anybody who can play a tabletop game can figure out the rules that you just offered, right? So I don't want to put a bad taste in anyone's mouth regarding the solo supplement by Alan Barr here, because this was really good. This is the opposite, is that Alan gave some unique ideas. The yes/no oracle, he does it with a 3d6, and it's like a gradual thing. He includes instructions on how to augment it based on asking questions about the scenario. He includes flavor with different like song titles. And he also has this D66 table at the top, which is the devil's bargain, where you get an offer and a price, a knowledge of a loved one's whereabouts, and the price is you have to betray someone close to you. I think that's really interesting in terms of adding stakes to the game and adding choices. And those are really what we are hungry for while we are playing a game in solo mode, is choices that we can make, meaningful choices that alter the trajectory of the game. Now, I got to that page 34, and I was like, oh no, because I was so ready. I was like, oh, I've got everything I need now. I got a devil's bargain table. I got my oracles. I got a whole system for how to frame these scenes. I have an action theme oracle, 2 of them that are D66, a 3-column action and 3-column themes, so that it's like literally tens of thousands of permutations, or maybe more. NPC generators, social reaction tables, combat actions that will actually, you can roll D6s, and the NPC or enemy will do different things based on if they're at full health, above half health, or under half health. a weather generator, morale generator, scenario, a D33 scenario prompts, which I think is, what is that, 10? Yeah, it's 10 options. And then these tables at the end, 3 times D66 NPC generator, D66 mysterious locations, D66 cryptic clues, ominous encounters, random questions, twists of fate, lost items and finds, consequences and choices, village and town locations, rural locations. And then we hit the sheets, which that's fine. And I think it could be helpful, especially too, if somebody is really wants to work on installing the firmware in their head to get used to like how to shape or set up or execute a solo play scene. I think that's cool. Do I need 7 of those? No. Location map, I think good. It's like these are examples. There should be one of each of these. Event outline, okay, fine. And I want to say that as far as a solo supplement, Alan Barr, great friggin' job. Like, this is an awesome solo supplement, not just in comparison to other ones I may have been referring to while I was waxing melancholical there, but it's just good. It is worth it. It is a thing that is worth money, and time was invested. And at the end, I had that like moment of letdown, but then I was like, well, what did I want to happen there? Right? Because I was like, they already told you, this is the solo supplement. It supplements the core game. So you don't need anything next. You already have the core game. That's already there for you to use. And if the idea is to use the Devil's 9 Questions tool in order to open the core game and play it on your own, then that is mission accomplished. And so I was like, what did I want? I don't know what I expected, especially how greedy of me, like how conceited in that you rarely get a solo supplement this good. And what did I want? And so I went to the source of a solo supplement that I think does in 8 pages what so many other solo supplements can't do. Some like full solo toolkit books don't do this in an entire book, and that is the Dragonbane Alone in Deepfall Breach. And I don't want to hear it. I know there's issues. I know that some people think that I stand this too hard. They don't see what's special about it. There's so many special things about it. I should do a whole video on that to help you understand why this is such a special thing. And I'm going through this, and we've shown this on the channel a bunch of times here, right? There's everything here is okay. Fortune chart. Yep. Inspiration table, dragon and demon effects. Yeah. I mean, like, some of this is suited to Dragonbane specifically, but the fortune chart, inspiration. Okay. Maybe could have used something like this, but the action and theme table will easily do the same thing as this. Some NPC templates. The NPC attack table is more built out in this one, but what the Devil's 9 Questions, the one for that is fine, more than enough. Stuff like this is totally accomplished, and I think what I wanted was this right here. Even though, and I'm a little brat, I'm a little brat, because it's like he told us this is how you come up with a scene, but something tells me that even though it was very, very clearly spelled out, this is a very clear spell out here of how to set up circles upon circles. For some reason, I feel that even with that, some novice solo players will still be like, incident, obstacles, action, denouement. I can see different things in each of these where they will be like, either, well, how do I do a denouement? Do I just be like, okay, now everyone's calm. All right, now something happened, right? It's kind of hard to imagine that if you are more experienced, because you can't unring the bell, right? But I'm just placing my own as best I can, thinking about my own self 2-3 years ago, and thinking, would this be enough for me? Because I think that man alone from 2 or 3 years ago would have said, well, what do I use the devil's bargains for? What's the story on that? How do I implement that? What am I okay? Like, am I coming to town as, say I chose I want to be a butcher. So am I just going to come up with things that as a butcher that I do? And I think I am being a little bit conceited here. But I do think that if I were to add one ingredient, I think it would be this right here. And Druidic Habit has this thing that he talks about with games that he loves. And there's one specifically, I can't think of what it is right now. It might be Skyrim, but there's like the opening gameplay loop where you get in, you're trying to escape. In one of them, it's like a castle's being attacked, and you just got to get out of there. You got to get out of there, and you got no armor on. You're picking up wooden clubs and broken swords, and people telling you to follow them, and then they're a chandelier's falling on their head. You're like, what the hell do I do? And then you get through all that, and your brain almost tricks you that that's the whole game. But then finally you hit daylight, and he loves this moment of entering the world map. And we first explained this, I didn't understand it, but then we added that component into our solo supplement, Call to the Green, the Dragonbane one. There's actually a moment there where there's a lot of hand holding, a lot of a sort of tutorial piece of it, or at least the initial steps of it. And then we say, okay, now it's up to you. Now we also have like various waypoints, locations, everything that are built up, but those things are here, they're here in the core book. So that wouldn't necessarily be required for this. And part of me almost feels like I wonder sometimes if I needed to do all of that, or if that's something that, like, how much did it add, so that's not quite it. But I think it really would have put a bow on it if there was one extra page that said, "What now?" ? In bold and slightly bigger font, and be like, well, now you can do whatever you'd like. You can go to the general store and grab some equipment. You can go and see what's happening in the forest. But just remember, the devil has come down to Sleepy Hollow, and so you're going to encounter this every once in a while. I think that makes this the greatest of all time. Without that, it is the greatest. It's the GOM. It's the greatest of all millennium. I don't know about you, friends, but I am so sick of hearing myself right now. Thanks for coming. Oh, does he never shut up? There were several times during this video that I just started thinking about something else. You know how rude that is to my viewers? I lost my train of thought. Oh.